Welcome to the Victims and Villains podcast. If you guys are new to this podcast, we are a podcast extension of the multimedia nonprofit Victims and Villains that talks about mental health through pop culture. My name is Josh. Today, the episode that you're getting ready to hear, this was originally meant to be a video on YouTube, and the connection was really bad. So, some of what you guys are going to get ready to hear, this interview with the band Bunker-Hill-Bloodbath, what we ended up having to do, some of it is I had to piece together some of the interview as best I could because of the connection coming and going. I apologize in advance, but I do hope that you guys like what you guys are about to hear. And you guys can catch Bunker Hill Bloodbath on our St. Patty's Day celebration here in Richmond at Garden-Grove-Brewing-Company. Hope you guys enjoy this. I got the entire band here, so if you guys want to be so kind, introduce yourselves and what instruments you guys play.
Hi, I'm Sean. I'm the vocalist.
Christian, I play bass.
Cody on drums.
Jesse, I slam strings on the guitar.
I gotta ask, because it's curious, where does the name come from? First and foremost.
You wanna give them the rundown?
I was kind of in between a friend of mine who's really into him, and like, yeah, mutual friend actually. We're big friends with the same guy, and he, me and him would throw these names back and forth, and there was like a street in Kernersville named Bunker Hill Road, and then I just kind of threw that together with Bloodbath because it was like that's the word that was running through my head, and they just fell together. He loved the name, and then when I brought it to Cody and the band, they loved it too. So
Yeah, it became a very unique just a unique name in and of itself. And then you like looked it up on a bunch of different databases to make sure that there were no other. That was a big thing of ours too. Is like we've seen some and get a great name, and then some other place associated with the place that you're from forever, which is great. But when it's on your name always, it's weird. We wanted that originality, and
Awesome.
so it worked out that way.
Well, sometimes that's one of the things I thought of. I was like, maybe it's like got some ties to like an old like Civil War like battle that
Well,
we didn't know.
we ended up finding that out after the fact,
Nice.
and it turns out. Have you ever heard the quote, "Don't shoot until you see the whites of their eyes"?
No.
Okay, well, it's a Civil War quote, and it actually is from that battle. It's not. I'm sorry, Revolutionary War
Okay.
battle, and it's actually from the Battle of Bunker Hill.
That's crazy.
So there's little connections here and there, and then of course the street is named after the one that's in like Massachusetts or wherever it's actually is. Yeah, so
It fell together.
yeah, it fell together.
Yeah, funny enough, the main inspiration for Bunker Hill was the fact that we actually tried to get a house on that road and we got turned down.
Yeah, we'll show you. We're gonna have association with that name somehow.
Yeah, that kind of lit a fire under our ass a little bit.
And what you don't want to do is light a fire under them. That's dangerous.
That's awesome. Well, could you guys talk about the creation of the sound of Bunker Hill? How would you describe it? What's the writing process like for you guys?
I should probably start with that for sure.
with like bands that I was just really into when I first started getting into like the heavier music, kind of when the pandemic picked up. So like bands like Knocked Loose were like our first kind of foray into super heavy hardcore stuff, and we were kind of emulating that at first. But I wanted to bring in more influences from other bands as well. So we were listening to a lot of like Kublai Khan stuff and Body Snatcher stuff at the time, and just kind of seeing what we could pick up from these guys and kind of mesh something together for our music. And it just kind of turned into this really cool, groovy, death groove type sort of sound. And when it comes to writing the stuff, it's almost always starts with an idea between there's somebody in the band, but like probably 90% it's between me and my brother Cody, the drummer here, who shines on guitar as well. So he writes a lot of the songs, especially some of the latest stuff has been mostly under his writing. So, um, but like we'll come up with something and kind of throw the ideas back and forth, like lyrically and musically, until we've got something the whole band kind of vibes with. You want to add to that?
I think you got it.
I got it. All right.
Pretty
Cool.
succinct in that way. Yeah.
And I think, I play bass, but being a guitarist myself, we will never run out of riffs. Like, it's just filtering through them at this point to what is worth going to release.
We have three incredible guitarists in the band. I have the least instrumental talent out of all of us, and all of them can play at least bass, minimum drums, and then guitar and bass is they're all savants at it. They just don't want to admit it. I'll say it, but they're all savants in a way. It's ridiculous. Like seriously, I've watched this man dissect a song just listening to it, and then he copies him without him even showing him how to do it. And I'm like, what is I don't even understand what the progression is. And they're over here like, oh wait, you got that? And I'm gonna okay, I got it. It's
They're
ridiculous.
they're just humble.
They're humble. They're humble for sure. And that's good because if I'm the one with the biggest ego in this band, I think it's you do keep yours contained for sure.
One of the things that fascinates me about the current landscape of music is the fact that when I was growing up in the scene, you released EPs and full lengths, every 6 months to a year or two. Whereas now with streaming, it's kind of changed the game, and every single is kind of like this event, and you guys definitely fall within that trend. Can you guys talk about how you guys decide what gets to see the light of day, when they get to see the light of day, just kind of talking about some of the more recent releases from you guys with Thieves and Nightmare Ritual Nightmares. What's the process like when you guys are considering releasing the content that you guys do?
We the band started with a lot of demos and stuff. So they've had banks of music for years at this point that they'll just pull from, change, interact, move things here and there. And so when we've all hit the demo, we really like how the lyrics are sounding and coming together, and we all can get in there and do the final recording for the vocals and stuff. Um, there are a couple songs that we've worked on but not finished, and then some songs that we've just been so gung-ho about that we're like, all right, we got to push this through. It's dope. It's our next thing. It's the next thing that we want people to know that we sound like. So it's really not any pick and choose of like, all right, well, we're gonna put this song out then, this song out then. We've gotten like an amalgamation of songs, and then we'll trickle them out. And that's something that we've heard from a couple other people that are a little more popular than us, that have released stuff and got some really big pop on them. Friends of ours, they've said a big thing a lot with streaming now is like the trickle effect, or like the waterfall effect. So with an EP, you might have 3 or 4 songs. You have that first one set for release, and then you compound those next releases on that original so that they all get like passive listens on the streaming service and stuff like that. So that is another thing that we have to balance, where before it was just you drop an EP, you drop an album, and then you just kind of hope that the grouping of those songs will get somewhere, rather than hoping that one song is going to carry you until you're ready to release the next one, and so on. Yeah, then that's the biggest thing, is people's attention spans for sure.
TikTok has kind of ruined us for the worst, I guess.
Definitely.
Well, you guys are getting ready with this March 16th show with us to make your guys' Virginia debut, which we're super excited about. what can we expect? Like, what is a live show with you guys? Are we expecting to like people getting hurt?
Our shows are violent, but I think the most violence is on stage.
Sure.
Probably. We have had some crazy pits, don't get me wrong, but there hasn't been chairs yet. We'll say that. There has been a traffic cone, which was pretty cool. But no weapons or anything like that. If you keep your face covered, you're gonna be fine. That's really what it boils down to.
As Jesse said earlier, yeah, we're super heavy and hard, but it's really groovy. So even if you're not getting in the pit, you will be moving your head. Like it's really accessible actually. My wife doesn't listen to metal like that, but she likes Bunker Hill.
Really listen to metal in that sense, but they get out there and dance and move and groove to all of our stuff too. That's the big thing that we like seeing more than anything else. Like, yeah, throwing fists and moshing is great, but if we can get you to bang your head and like groove around and dance and stuff and actually let yourself go during our set, that's all we care about. It's about that experience first and foremost than anything else. Is
Well,
that show experience?
Yeah, and specifically like harking on the groove. It's one of the reasons that I really like you guys is because when you have a band that has that heaviness to it, there's I believe personally being raised also on not only like the emo and the screamo generation, but also like music like Britney Spears and Sync, a lot of those got stuck in your head and it was the hooks, it was the grooves. So when you guys are taking something that is traditionally something that's very heavy, how do you guys kind of combat that with the hooks and the process for writing those hooks?
They're the groove writers, so I don't want to put you on the spot.
No, I mean, when it comes to groove stuff, we also take a lot of influence. Me and Cody have grown up on rap was some of the first things that we were even listening to were big rap artists, and his first show was a big rap show in like 2005. Oh yeah. So going on that, we've had a lot of influence from stuff outside of metal for a long time. So that stuff, like you said, it kind of just sits in your brain. You've got it kind of you want to work with those grooves, but you don't necessarily know how you want to put them in there. But bands like we've said, like Kublai Khan and other groove metal bands have kind of shown that you can kind of just like hit the right bit of heaviness at the right moment. You get a scream at the right spot, and people will groove and vibe to that the same way they would if you were doing a dance song or something. And when we put them in our music, you don't want to. I wouldn't say to put them too many times. Put a breakdown part or a groovy part in there too much. People get oversaturated from that kind of thing.
Like the Sean always calls out the two-step in during Thieves. That is for sure for me the hook of the song. And people love that too because you just hitting them, you're hitting them, you're hitting them, you're hitting, and then dancing.
But you don't think of it as a traditional. You don't think of it as a traditional type of hook. Like the hook in a song is usually something that comes in and repeats all over and over again. But sometimes with a hardcore song, that hook can just be that one big groove part that you've been building
Absolutely.
to the whole song. So
I think something that I learned with, and we've talked about it a lot with playing not only on the sounds that we're making, but playing with the space in between the sounds,
Mhm.
because you can't have the groove without that separation of the note and everything, right? Otherwise, it's just a big ball of sound. So, like he said, where it was you placing the vocals in the right spot, you get that riff in the right spot, the drum hits just in the perfect, and you get that groove when it's caught right. It's caught right because of that space before it. It's caught right because of the space after it, and your
Absolutely.
body recognizes that pattern and really picks up on the. Otherwise, I've seen riffs get thrown in songs where the crash is back there overriding the whole thing, so you can't hear the groove for anything because there's no separation. You have to have some type of like there's a flow, and if there's no silence, there's no ebb and flow. So
Absolutely.
yeah, it's just one big wall of noise.
Well, Speaking of thieves on that topic, Thieves and Consume were recently featured on our latest episode of Abyss Gazing, which covered the loved ones for our Valentine's Day episode. And Thieves is a new release for you guys this year. We're still a few weeks into this year. What do you guys have planned for 2024? What are some of the goals? What can people expect from you guys?
Well, right now, Thieves is our most recent release. We're gonna try and really hit media overall, social media as a whole, with that pretty hard. Might be working on some music video stuff at some point, but right now we're in the middle of really hunkering down, pushing these new shows for the year, and then hopefully getting out some more music within the middle of the year, maybe fall, something like that. We're just getting more aggressive and more groovy and more
Nice.
in your face and breakdowns and stuff. More rap influence and call outs and shot, like different things like that.
Yeah, we've only got almost one song written, I think, completely. But like I said, we have to filter through. Yeah, it's so much music, and sometimes it won't match. Like maybe we're like, oh man, this song is just absolutely sick, and it's gonna punch people in the face. But then you play it with the other songs that you might want to put on something. You're like, oh, it kind of doesn't fit with that. What would be that album EP?
And little behind the scenes, but we do plan on at some point this year working on getting a shuttle bus to try and really get some actual touring going. Because we're all just itching, because we've played all of our local areas. We love all of our local venues and stuff. They've been amazing to us, but we want to get down to like Florida. We got a couple bands down there we want to play with. We also, we want to get out to Texas as well. We played with this amazing band called Disowned from Texas back when we first started, and they really put a fire under us to like want to travel out, because they 3 guys just in a rent a bus or whatever, rent a van, and I was like, damn dude, y'all really went out and did the thing. And we
Nice.
actually ended up meeting them because somebody dropped off of our show. They had a last minute cancellation, and so they came through, and we were like, dude, these guys are amazing. And so that really was like, we have to tour. And then we started meeting other bands from like Georgia, South Carolina, Florida. We were like, oh, whenever we're ready to, we just got to hit them up and be like, we'd love to play some shows with you guys. And we'll try and plant those seeds there.
Nice. All right. Well, where can people find you guys online to actually follow those endeavors?
We are on all social medias. I think we just got rid of our X because we don't really care about
Join the
that.
club.
But yeah, everything on everything under Bunker Hill Bloodbath. Super easy to find. One thing that we're very, very proud of, if you just Google us, everything comes up. If you
Nice.
type in Bunker Hill Bloodbath, all of our shit comes up. It is one of the cleanest Google searches I've ever seen for a local band. It's ridiculous. So that's something that we're pretty happy about. But Facebook, Instagram, we're on TikTok. Of course, we're really trying to build the TikTok up, because that, of course, even though it's the devil, it gets the views. It's ridiculous. It does not make sense, but it gets the views for sure.
All right, well, I thank you guys so much. You guys can catch Bunker Hill Bloodbath with the Get Off, Bend the Knee, Dens, and Wine and War Paint at Garden Grove Brewing Company here in Richmond, Virginia, beginning at 6 p.m. on March 16th. Come out and celebrate St. Patrick's Day with us. Support the bands, support the bar, support the cause, and hit that subscribe button below. Check out all of Bunker Hill Bloodbath stuff in the show notes below. Thank you guys for watching.
If you or someone you know is listening to this podcast right now and you're struggling with suicide, addiction, self-harm, or depression, we encourage you guys to please reach out. This is the heartbeat of why we do what we do. Suicide is currently the 10th leading cause of death in the United States, and as of this recording, there are 132 suicides that take place each and every day on American soil. And when you scale back internationally, there are 800,000 successful suicides. That is one death roughly every 40 seconds. So if you or someone you know is struggling, you guys can go to victimsandvillains.net/hope. That resource is going to be right in the description wherever you guys are currently listening or streaming this. There you'll find resources that include the National Suicide Lifeline, which is 1-800-273-8255. You can also text HELP to 741-741. We also have a plethora of other resources, including churches, getting connected with counselors, LGBT resources like the Trevor Project, and also veteran hotline as well. Please, if you hear nothing else in the show, understand that you listening to this right now, have value and worth. We get it. Suicide, depression, mental health, these are hard topics, and the stigma around them doesn't make it any easier. But please consider the resources right in the descriptions below wherever you guys are listening, because once again, you have value and you have worth. So please stay with us.